approximately 3 minutes.
My name is Bob Eaton, 2950 Concession 5. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to comment on this now third and draft site plan agreement with Nelson Aggregates. In my view, it is clear each successive draft is worse for our community than the one previous. I need only point out that in the latest proposal, overall hours of operation for extraction and processing have actually increased 5.5 hours each week. As well, if Nelson Aggregates wants to operate on any weekend or holiday, all they need to do is call the township's Director of Infrastructure and Development for permission. The director cannot unreasonably refuse such a request. What might seem like a reasonable reason for the director, like too much noise, too much dust pollution, hundreds more trucks on the roads, not to mention the quality of life for our residents, sure as hell won't be a reasonable reason for Nelson Aggregates. And I'll bet I know who caves in first in this showdown. Just look to Murphy's Mountain for your answer, where the trucks are still climbing the hill. It was made obvious to council and staff at previous meetings we wanted fewer hours of operation and no operating on weekends and holidays. Clearly, trying to negotiate with this company is futile at the moment because the township either has no bargaining power, no bargaining expertise, or both. This is why I suggest to council that this whole business be deferred until after the OMB has rendered its decision. You don't need the headache, and we certainly don't. Agreeing in principle to this latest draft plays right into Nelson Aggregates' hands at the OMB. I can positively state the township will be in a stronger bargaining position the longer it plays out. It certainly can't be worse. So please, vote to defer. A lot of residents, local businesses, and the Humane Society have come together to take on this fight. A fight this council walked away from in large part due to the potential cost to the township. Although I might not agree with council's decision, I respect that it was yours to make. Speaking of costs, I have to wonder how much it is costing our township, in any event, to have our legal counsel and staff attend and participate in the OMB proceedings. Why participate at all? I say, why not save all the money and the resources, take a back seat and see where the dust eventually settles. Until then, please step out of our path and let us do battle with Nelson Aggregates for the betterment of the environment and everyone in our community. Please table and support a motion to defer. Thank you.
Subdivision known as Evergreen Estates, and I'm here to state my request that the town defer its decision and oppose staff report number 2017-29. The reasons being, I'm going to try to summarize them. There's a lot of issues at play here. First of all, your legal counsel has written to us saying that there's a considerable shortfall and they want to see CLC. We have all along been trying to work with staff. Unfortunately, that's resulted in very little cooperation that's come back to us, is our view at this point in time. So basically, your municipal lawyer is saying that the cost to seize the LC and to do the paving work is greatly in excess of what the town has. So this is going to cost taxpayers a lot of extra money. Needless to say that we can perform the work for probably half the amount that's on the tender of $517,000. The bottom line is this is a very nice subdivision and it's been mishandled by town staff is our view. Not all town staff. There's been a lot of good staff on town that we've vetted over the years. However, we've submitted a professional engineer's report. To this date, we've got no counter reports from Burnside. The town has hired Burnside, spent probably a couple $100,000 when originally your first CEO, Mr. Fox, had told me personally that the cost might be $2,000 to $3,000. $10,000 max, I believe, is what he quoted. And so currently we have no engineers engineers' reports. We've got a bunch of reports, none of them are stamped by professional engineers. We've provided professional engineers' reports, and there is no reply to this. Secondly, the cost shortfall. Why do this now when it could be worked out amicably? Thirdly, the town staff has allowed works to be done by the homeowners. And I'm not blaming the homeowners here per se. There's a bylaw. The town has completely thrown that bylaw in the garbage. There's driveways that are 4 times the size of what they should be. Our engineers have pointed that out. The extra work that was done by hiring a contractor precipitously in the fall of about a year ago has cost probably 3 times what it should have cost. The town has had to bring back the contractor. Town staff have issued a number of deficiency reports on the work that's been done.
Mr. Furbarker, maybe I could advise you to move to your most essential points, because it is a timeline of 3 minutes.
I realize that. I'm just going down my list. So
it's a timeline of 3 minutes, and you're almost there now, so you may go to the back of the line and there's more time.
okay, well, I'm here to try to avoid litigation and avoid hassle to the homeowners. They probably in good faith put in these driveways. They don't realize that there's a town bylaw. I have written to staff to ask them to deal with this. Nobody thus far has dealt with it. So I'm here asking the town council to defer this at this point in time. And also, we would like to have our phone calls returned. We've probably got a lot of 20 phone calls that we've made, and nobody returns our phone calls. It's a little bit hard to resolve matters. And we don't want to end up in costly litigation. It's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money. It's going to create problems. We have a beautiful subdivision there. Some of the people have realized probably $300,000–400,000 being on their homes. And I don't see why we should be in this situation. So I'm asking council to please consider my request and to see if we can resolve this in an amicable manner without getting into a protracted battle.
Thank you for your comment. And we're well over the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tina Machado. I live at 995943 Mile Town Line, Rosemont. The Honorable Mayor and Councilors, my statement is in regards to the revised development agreement planning report 2017-21. A wise politician once said, "You may have to fight a battle more than once to win it." So we're here this evening to continue to fight. Sometimes as an individual, you need to make a hard choice and stand up for something you believe in order to protect and safeguard what is important for the future of your township. This choice is not an easy one, but many people in this room and in this community have chosen to speak up. The hours on the schedule 2.4 have changed once again and are steadily increasing rather than decreasing. A major concern is that extraction can now take place from 6 a.m. each morning. As well, they now have the opportunity for special circumstance mining on weekends and holidays. If council is not already aware, Lafarge bought out James Dick and now owns a ready-mix plant sitting just up the road at Highway 89 and 50, where Nelson can store aggregate for the times in which they so desperately need to ship them out at 6 a.m. in the morning or on weekends and holidays. The people who live in and around the proposed pit do not live there part-time. The noise, the pollution, and the traffic will affect their day-to-day lives. They came to Adshaw's to enjoy this rural lifestyle, to experience nature, and to enjoy the quiet. This proposed pit will not only ruin their quality of life, which as council you can claim to value highly, but will reduce property values and possibly contaminate their wells. Now we come back once more to the bizarre proposed walking trail along the gravel pit itself. Again, I'd like to ask any of you why on earth you would choose such a place to put a trail. No one wants to wander past open pit mines on weekends when they're seeking nature, and during the week when the pit is in operation, it is less than useless. This trail is an extremely bad idea, and if Nelson is truly interested in the welfare of the township, this money would be better put into trust by the council to guarantee a proper rehabilitation plan when they are finished mining it. I also ask who will be responsible for protecting the waters and wetlands from contamination. Since there are numerous problems with how current legislation is enforced, including inadequate monitoring of environmental impacts and a lack of effective mechanisms for inspection, enforcement, and rehabilitation of aggregate operations, I think it would be in our council's best interest to take steps to protect our water now since no one else is required to do so. You, as our elected council, need to take full responsibility for your actions and decisions in this matter, as there is little to no benefit in this proposed pit for our township. I trust that you will reflect on the concerns of your citizens and will act accordingly. Thank you for your time.
wait till everyone's listening. Annette Bays, 2950 Concession Road 5, Mayor, Council, staff, residents. You may remember I've spoken twice before on this issue, imploring you to please note a number of things. Well, I'm back to remind you of some of those and to speak on new issues brought out by this newest and worst version of the draft plan agreement with Nelson. As previously mentioned, based on information in Jackie's own planning report, there is no reason to push this agreement through now. The only party who would benefit from that is Nelson. I provided evidence of this at the September meeting. In terms of changes to the last draft, again, nothing changes except for the worse. The first time around, we say we are not interested in a walking trail on the edge of a pit, so they try to force it on us anyway by claiming Nelson will spend more in kind to create exactly the same thing we didn't want in the first place. We still say we don't want it, so now they claim we have to have it because, quote, it has become part of the rehabilitation plan. Since when? Approved by whom and why? So Nelson can promote it as this wonderful gift they're giving us? Well, since rehabilitation is part of Nelson's obligation, why did they try to pass it off as a contribution in the first place then? What on earth is going on here? Still seems like a bad joke we again will have to pay for in the end. Then there are the hours of operation. We ask for shorter hours. Jackie comes back with longer hours each time. Whose benefit is the township staff working for? If you look closely at this latest draft, you will see that we are now threatened with an additional 4 hours of operations during the week, and the weekends have been left wide open with possible pit operations and shipping. Last time we were offered 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays, with no Sundays and holidays. Now there are no limits in timing on Saturdays, and Sundays and holidays have been added in as well. Permission for shipping, extraction, and processing all weekend long will be left to the discretion of a township director at Nelson's request of the moment. What possible gravel emergency could come up that they would have to reasonably give permission to ruin our weekends and holidays as well? It seems like a recipe for disaster. We need to have this all down in black and white now. There are still no benefits to our township at all in this agreement. All we get are higher costs and a lower quality of life. We need a consultant actually working for the interests of the people of this town to have some input into this agreement now. Can we put someone else on this job? I can't believe any one of you will sign off on this latest draft agreement today, since it was not okayed the first 2 times and is even less favorable to the people of this township now, unless you are waiting for it to get worse.
I'm just gonna say we're halfway through the time, so probably won't get past the last person there. You know, that will be the last person unless there's time at the end.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and councilors. I'm just a new person to the community, I figure, and I'm learning how to live with this gravel pit. I drove around and gave you a map of the 5 already abandoned,
It's not,
this past month. Pardon?
Your name and address, please.
Oh, sorry, Marion Schrank. I had it on the letter. 4547 Concession Road 3, Agila. This past month I was reminded of a saying, to understand a person you must walk a mile in their shoes. As my husband and myself were returning from Guelph after visiting our friends, the traffic came to a standstill on Highway 10. Our car was stopped at the entrance of the gravel pit. There's many along the road. I was just relaxing, watching machines dig the earth and load the trucks, swinging back and forth. It was a calm, sunny evening. After about 5 minutes, I felt a strange sensation inside of me. The car wasn't shaking, everything seemed calm. After 10 minutes, I was beginning to feel quite uncomfortable. It was like the inside of me was being shaken in one of those food mixers. After 15 minutes, I was really uncomfortable. 20 minutes, my head started to hurt. And then our car moved. Thank goodness the traffic went forward. Our car was in about from this council room to the other side of the room from where they were digging. I had a clear view. The vibration inside of me was nauseating after only 20 minutes. I remember one lady in a previous meeting saying she had to leave her house from 6 or 7 in the morning till evening. Now I understand why. Any animals or birds in the vicinity would have to leave. The turtles, I'm not sure how they would manage, or fish would be affected. The animals in the Humane Society, I'm not sure how this would affect their health or behavior. For people on the proposed walking trail would be very limited till after hours, which is pretty well all the daylight hours. This unusual coincidence of having been stuck in traffic outside an active above ground gravel pit brought to mind the saying, you don't know how other people or animals would feel until you've walked a mile in their shoes. It was quite an eye-opener for me in understanding that this gravel pit needs a lot more hearing to go forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Cynthia Lindsay, 5101 Concession Road 4, Tossarano. Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight to express my concerns about the proposed aggregate pit. To agree to the terms set out by Nelson's seems to me to be premature. There have been no changes in their offer that address quality of life, water issues, or the environmental impact of the pit. The province has recently updated the provincial policy statement on land use planning. It aims to reduce urban sprawl and protect agricultural lands, class 1 to 3, natural heritage, and hydrologic features. This site is agricultural land with wetlands and the beautiful Boyne River and Toss Creek, as well as a vulnerable aquifer. These are worth protecting. There is still no change in the agreement that saves the taxpayer from expensive road repairs due to increase in dump trucks, nor is there a clarification of who damages the roads. Nelson agreeing that their trucks are causing the damage is not reassuring. Furthermore, the damages that will occur are most definitely a safety concern for our township residents. With the recent environmental disasters around the world, protecting our food and water sources should be a priority. Yes, we need gravel, but this site is not appropriate. Vulnerable water aquifer, the Boyne River and Toss Creek, wetlands, agricultural land, and threatened species are all in this site. Finally, as concerned longtime residents and taxpayers in this area, we are convinced that we would most certainly face decreased property values, while Nelson Aggregate Company enjoys increased profits. Thank you.
And here we are again. Mayor, council, staff, and fellow residents. As our municipal council, you have a potential disaster to deal with in our community.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you have name and address, please?
Sorry?
Name and address.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Janet Budgell, 995-129 Mono, Agula Town Line. In front of you is a totally ridiculous Nelson draft site plan agreement. You have asked for input from council and the public, neither of which has been included in this document. In fact, this agreement is the worst of the three, offering no protection for us as a community from an environmental or a financial perspective. I recently attended a committee meeting in Dufferin County and was asked if this draft plan, for many reasons, was really a joke. Some of those present were municipal councillors, and they roared with laughter, discussing their understanding of a walking trail along a 6-day-week industrial operation of a gravel pit on private land, on a floodplain, and maintained, finally, by the unsuspecting taxpayer. Admittedly, I felt a twinge of embarrassment, living in a community which seems often to be the butt of some of these jokes. There is a document called Growing the Green, Protecting the Blue. I'm sure you've seen it. The Ontario government wants to grow the green belt. And that means right up to Simcoe. So one of the fastest growing areas in the Greater Golden Horseshoe Simcoe County, is also blessed with an abundance of fresh water. From the globally recognized Minnesota Swamp to the tourism attracting shores of Lake Simcoe to a network of moraines, rivers, wetlands, and recharge areas, the county's water resources are a source of pride for residents and visitors alike. Recent sprawl and industrial development on swaths of rural land in Midhurst, Oro-Medonte, Minisene, and Agila-Tuscarantio, and elsewhere are both fiscally and ecologically unsustainable. Inappropriate growth will incur economic costs for taxpayers and municipalities, exceed the watershed's capacity to assimilate waste, decrease the quality of drinking water supply, threaten farmers' irrigation sources, and lead to local species extinction. I hope that we can assume and expect that individual council members will exercise their oath of office under the Municipal Act and represent their constituents in an ethical manner. A decision cannot possibly be made regarding this egregious, protectionist draft plan until the OMB hearing is finalized through all courts. Thank you.
Hi, Jean McDonald, 5748 County Road 13. I am very lucky to live in my dream home on the banks of the Boyne River, just on the north of the proposed gravel pit. I and my husband have lived here for 30 years and have seen the river in all its moods, calm and quiet, flooding, low, high, and all in between. It used to be full of fish, and it is just barely recuperating from the damage done by other pits in the area. According to the NVCA, this recovery would be put in danger with the proposed pit. I want to cover a lot of points, but I can't. I don't have time. So I will go to the walkway, which in my opinion won't work. It's a great idea. It sounds great on paper, but it won't work. It shouldn't even be considered. The Boyne River floods every spring, sometimes more than others. Berms would only keep the water on our side of the river and flood us out along with any other walkway. Other people will bring up many of the other points against the walkway and proposed gravel pit, but these are my important reasons. I have too many to bring up tonight. Thank you.
Debbie Hall, 16 Lynch Lane in Everett. I stand before you here tonight in regards to the Nelson aggregate agreement that you're reviewing, and you've had several months to review it. I'm very despondent that nobody's acted or changed any of this agreement. I printed it off over the weekend and reread it, and there's been very little change. So I was going to say the same speech that I said last month, but I thought it was redundant because nobody really in this room took notice of what any of us had to say. So I'm going to bring a couple of things to your attention tonight. And one is a book called 13 Ways to Kill Your Community. This book is very, very relevant to this community today. Doug Griffiths, who wrote this book, is an activist in ways to promote healthy communities. And in saying that, I've had some very active conversations with this gentleman. My reason for being here tonight is I want 13 ways to live in your community and to strive to be in your community. We have to correct this. This agreement with Nelson Lafarge is a waste of time. It's a waste of time for the community. It's going to hurt the environment, the quality of life of the people that basically are sitting behind me tonight. I don't know what it's going to take for each of you to say no to this agreement. I'm prepared tonight to write you a $6,000 check every year for the next 20 years to make this go away. And I'm sure the people behind me will back me up in saying that. This is getting ridiculous. I truly believe there's other means to get this community more income. I have 2 companies right now today that are willing to come here to Agtos and become part of this community and create hundreds of jobs. And I have that in writing from those individuals and those companies. They're top 50 companies. they're interested in coming here, but I can tell you today that if a gravel pit goes forward, these companies are not interested in coming here because there's too many trucks on the road. There's going to be too much chaos out there. The quality of life, the air quality, the lack of water down the road is going to be nil. My son wakes up every morning, he's 13 years old, and he wonders if this gravel pit goes through, his safety on the road and the water quality here is going to be compromised. What am I going to tell him as a mother? So please, please take some time to take a look at this tonight and vote against this agreement. We are going to the OMB next week, and that's another thing I want to bring up. I had the privilege a couple of weeks ago of calling into this office to book this room for next Thursday. I was met by Jackie on the other end, who did not ask me to identify myself. She didn't know who I was. I booked this room on behalf of the OMB. However, she didn't ask for any identification from me. This is the lack of respect that this council has. I could have been anybody from any company, anything, trying to book this room for next Thursday. It's appalling how this council and the members of this municipality work on a day-to-day basis. I've had many incidents here for the last 2 years, and I'm getting fed up, right? So at the end of the day, my community is important to me. The people that are behind me, stand behind me. They support us in all that we do. And any trouble that we have, anything that our community faces, we face it together. But the lack of support of this council is not welcoming.